Math Chapter 9, Length and Metric Units. Today we're focusing on Lesson 9.7, Measure and Compare Lengths. This is the last lesson in Chapter 9. Go ahead and open up your workbook to Lesson 9.7, the first page of the problem set. You're also going to need your ruler for today's problem set, so make sure you have both of those things ready before we begin. If not, hit pause now. The first thing it says to do in our listen and draw section is to measure the length of the paintbrush, then measure the length of the crayon. Go ahead and take a moment, make sure you're using the centimeter side of your ruler, and measure both of those objects. You should have gotten 15 centimeters for the paintbrush and 8 centimeters for the crayon. So which object is longer? The paintbrush. How much longer? Well, that's the question we're going to be answering with today's lesson when we find the difference between the length of two objects. So let's look at our I can statement. I can find the difference between the lengths of two objects. Difference is an old math vocabulary word that we should know, but just in case we've forgotten, difference is the answer to a subtraction problem. So let's look at our model and draw and figure out what we're going to be working on today. The question says, how much longer is the pencil than the crayon? Well, they measured both objects for us. They found the pencil was 8 centimeters and the crayon was 5 centimeters. Remember, if our I can statement says we're finding the difference between the lengths of two objects today, that means we're going to be using subtraction sentences. So we took the two measurements, 8 centimeters and 5 centimeters, and we put them in a subtraction sentence. 8 minus 5 equals 3. So the pencil is 3 centimeters longer than the crayon. Let's try a few more problems. Let's look at the share and show section next. Our directions say, measure the length of each object. Complete the number sentence to find the difference between the lengths. So remember, for each number sentence, we're using a subtraction sentence to find our answer or find the difference. So for number 1, let's go ahead and measure those two objects. We have a straw and a blue string. Go ahead and measure your objects. For the straw, you should have gotten 7 centimeters, and for the blue string, 10 centimeters. Now we need to put them into a subtraction sentence so that we can find the difference between the lengths of the two objects. Remember, when we're subtracting, the bigger number goes first. So our subtraction sentence is 10 minus 7 equals 3. The string is 3 centimeters longer than the straw. Let's try number 2. Go ahead and measure the paintbrush and the toothpick. The paintbrush was 11 centimeters and the toothpick was 5 centimeters. Again, in order to find the difference or how much longer the paintbrush is than the toothpick, we need to put them into a subtraction sentence. So our subtraction sentence is 11 minus 5 equals 6. The paintbrush is 6 centimeters longer than the toothpick. All right, make sure you have all your answers filled in for those first two problems. Let's take a look at the On Your Own section. Go ahead, try number 4 and 5 on your own. Push pause now and complete them. When you're ready and you have all of your work filled in, hit play again and you can check your answers. Go ahead and hit pause. All right, you should have completed them by now and have just hit play again so that you can see if your answers are the same as the ones that I got. So for number 3, you should have measured each of the objects, the crayon and the green string. And for number 4, you should have measured each of the objects, the yellow string and the paperclip. For number 3, I got 8 centimeters for the crayon and 10 centimeters for the string. My subtraction sentence is 10 minus 8 equals 2. The yarn is 2 centimeters longer than the crayon. For number 4, I got 9 centimeters for the yellow string and 5 centimeters for the paper clip. My number sentence is 9 minus 5 equals 4. The string is 4 centimeters longer than the paper clip. Again, check your answers over. If you made a mistake, remeasure with your ruler and double check your work. Let's take a look at number 5, our Think Smarter question. It says, use a centimeter ruler. Measure the length of your desk and the length of a book. Well, I know you don't have your desk right now, but we do know that the length of a desk is about 2 rulers. One ruler is 30 centimeters, and 2 rulers would be 60 centimeters. Then I grabbed your math workbook and I measured the length, or the long side of the book, and found that it was 27 centimeters. So which of those objects is shorter? The book. How much shorter is it? Well, just like the problems we just did, we need to find the difference in the lengths of the 2 objects. So I need to do a subtraction sentence. What do you think my subtraction number sentence should be? Well, I have my 2 measurements, so my sentence would be 60 minus 27 equals, here's my number sentence, 60 minus 27. Well, we haven't subtract with regrouping in a while. However, I have never forgotten that poem. In my poem, there was more on the floor, so I went next door and I got 10 more. So if you look, 7 was more than 0, so I went to the tens place, borrowed a 10, leaves me with only 5 tens. That 10 becomes 10 ones in the ones place. Then I can just subtract. 10 minus 7 is 3, and 5 minus 2 is 3. So how much shorter is it? It is 33 centimeters shorter. Let's take a look at the 2 word problems on the back of our problem set. We're going to use cubes, as we always do, to help us complete these. Mark has a rope that is 23 centimeters long. He cuts 15 centimeters off. What is the length of the rope now? Let's read that one more time. Mark has a rope that is 23 centimeters long. He cuts 15 centimeters off. What is the length of the rope now? Now we need to underline our question. What is the length of the rope now? What key information do I need to box up? Well, I know that the rope started off as 23 centimeters long, and then I know that he cut 15 centimeters off. I need to include that important keyword cut because it tells me that the rope went away, or I'm going to be subtracting. So thinking about that keyword cut, if I'm subtracting, what would my subtraction sentence be? 23 minus 15. Go ahead and copy that down and solve it. Remember the poem, more on the floor you need to go next door. I'll give you a moment to solve that problem. Make sure you're showing all of your work. You should have gotten 8 centimeters. Let's take a look at number 7. The yellow ribbon is 15 centimeters longer than the green ribbon. The green ribbon is 29 centimeters long. What is the length of the yellow ribbon? Let's read that one more time. The yellow ribbon is 15 centimeters longer than the green ribbon. The green ribbon is 29 centimeters long. What is the length of the yellow ribbon? Again, we need to start by underlining our question. What is the length of the yellow ribbon? And then figuring out what important key information I need to box up. Well, I know that the yellow ribbon is 15 centimeters longer than the green ribbon. But I don't know how long the yellow ribbon is. That's what I'm trying to find out. But I know it's going to be longer than the green ribbon. And I already know that the green ribbon is 29 centimeters long. Well, if the yellow ribbon has to be more than that or longer than that, then I must have to add these 2 numbers. So what would my addition sentence be? 29 plus 15 equals. Go ahead and copy that down and figure out the answer. Remember that we switched from subtraction in the last problem to addition this time. Don't get confused when you're regrouping. When you look in your ones place, 9 plus 5 is 14. The 4 stays in the ones, and then I regroup those 10 ones for 1 10. So carry your 1 up to your tens place and get your final answer. Your final answer should be 44 centimeters. Again, you should be showing your work though. All right, time for our last question, and it's a Think Smarter question. Measure the length of each object. Which object is longer? How much longer? All right, well, I see I have two questions I need to answer. And the first direction said I needed to measure the length of each of the objects. So go ahead and in centimeters, measure how long each of those objects is. All right, I'm going to label them so that I don't forget. The crayon was 11 centimeters, and the green string is 6 centimeters. Well, I know which object is longer, the blue crayon. The second question wants to know how much longer. Well, just like all the problems I've done today, I'm trying to find the difference between those two lengths. So I need to subtract. What would my subtraction sentence be? 11 minus 6 equals 5. All right, now let's fill in our writing. The first question asked, which object is longer? Well, that's an easy answer. The crayon is longer. But then I did have a second question, how much longer? It is 5 centimeters longer than the string. Again, make sure you've written those in complete sentences with a capital in the beginning and a period at the end. And make sure you have your labels and your subtraction sentence to show all of your work. Awesome job. Now it's time for the homework. Take your time, be neat, and recheck your work. Keep up the great work.